every time I go to a public toilet, I kind of have to prove myself that I deserve to go to the toilet, simply because I have like short hair and wears like not a very like women clothes.
Welcome to TaiwanPlus After Hours. We're going to explore Taiwan through TaiwanPlus colleagues' after hours activities. When I was in the States and a lot of people were talking about, curious about different things about Taiwan. One of the things that they were most interested in, I was kind of curious. I asked some people as to like why they were interested, but a lot of them were really interested in the LGBTQ, same-sex marriage, activism, the history of it. And I came to realize that compared to like in America, for example, Christianity is it's not in the laws, but there's a lot of Christian values of the founding of America, and so they could feel like, oh well, like that's the reason why they oppose same-sex marriage. But in Taiwan, it's not. I mean, on the surface level, it's not a Christian thing. There are multiple books and reports talking about how there were a lot of Christian influence into it, but they were curious, like, in a society that doesn't have the Christian influence, how does it work? And, like, I even asked myself, my family is not Christian, but we're really traditional, and a lot of religious, cultural, traditional stuff, and they also oppose it, too, purely just on saying it was unnatural. So, I mean, how do you think that plays into like this whole, like, what is it like being in a country where Christianity is not that deeply rooted, but yet there were such strong oppositions to it?
Yeah, it's something I'm always curious about, and I'm trying to figure that out. I think in general we inherited the Confucius narratives, and I would say it's like an ideology for the society in general. So if you are going to have children, you better have like boys and like patriarchy. Yeah, and also like includes parents, one father, one mother, and then two children, and
if
best,
not more.
Yeah, and the best will be
boys.
like two boys. Yeah. And so even like single parents nowadays, they have been discriminated institutionally or like in general.
They'd be looked down upon culturally almost too. Yeah.
Like it's sad for you to be a single parent. So this kind of discouragement or like this norm like it's deeply rooted in our culture that it's so difficult to challenge. And like challenging these norms is like challenging your parents or your grandparents or like what you've learned from the school. So it's very difficult for people to show like their true colors, or just simply being different is very difficult. So I think that's one of the like major differences comparing to the Western world. Like although we don't have like that strong Christianity background, still there's the deeply rooted like family values.
The Confucianism, the filial piety, that goes with it.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think, what do you say, like 集体主义?
Collectivism?
Yeah, collectivism. Yeah. So like you it's difficult to see like finding like uniqueness. The society in general is not promoting like you being unique. They try to teach you to be part of the society,
the group, the community, the greater community. So
be normal, and don't speak out.
Don't stick out. Don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that is also very like there's this strong sense of being normal, like don't be special. So not just being gay or lesbian, but also like wearing different, like having different colors of hair or like wearing different style of clothes. Still, till this day, it can be very like triggering or provocative for a lot of people. So yeah, I think that's something I've learned from like being a queer kid for like 31 years.
We've always heard about the strong aggressive arguments that may or may not, like that often happen actually surrounding this. But have you ever had an experience of like a communication of people genuinely asking questions? Like they're not decided. Like you can tell that they're not decided. They're just genuinely curious. Like have you heard that kind of experience? Like from like what kind of group that's usually from?
Sometimes some people will share their worries about having to go to the same toilet with transgender women. And I'll just ask them, do you feel threatened that I go to the same toilets with you? Do you feel threatened? And I told them the stories that every time I go to a public toilet, I kind of have to prove myself that I deserve to go to the toilet, simply because I have like short hair and wears like not a very like women clothes. So trying to, I think, like humanize the issues, or trying to like tell the personal stories, although it's difficult sometimes to like express yourself, or like sharing, like being very intimate with someone. But I think like giving stories is the easiest way to bring the compassion, and also to let them know that we are talking about real human experiences. It's not issues in a book or in the news. It's my life. Are you going to support it or not?
Right, then someone's going to go be like, well, you, of course, I support you,
but not
everyone else. The question's like, why?
Yeah, but sometimes it's not about voting for yes or no makes you a better person, but simply voting yes or simply voting no for some causes is like showing your personal support for your friends, for your families, for your neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it always comes down to personal stories, right? I think like working here at TaiwanPlus, a lot of times people are like, oh, like why should people care about Taiwan? Well, when we're telling stories, I mean, when we've discussed, our desks before, we've like it's not about Taiwan necessarily. It's just a good story, a human story that happens to take place here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's just bottom line is comes down to it. As cheesy as it sounds, we're all human beings.
Yeah, exactly.